Commentary on the book Human and Humanliness. We are human, yet we live in a world of gold and violence where inhumanity dominates humanity. Humans are everywhere, but humanliness is hard to find anywhere. There is a vessel called human that should contain humanliness, but it is not filled with it. The book Human and Humanliness is a profound philosophical work that returns to one of the oldest and most urgent questions facing civilization. In a world overflowing with knowledge, technology, and power yet often losing its moral direction, this book asks whether human progress can truly be meaningful without dignity, conscience, responsibility, and love for humanity. This book begins with a challenging yet essential insight that being born human is not the completion of humanliness itself. Human life is more than a biological existence situated between birth and death. We become complete human beings not merely by existing, but through the processes of learning, choosing, reflecting, enduring, creating, loving, and taking responsibility. To live as a human being is to move beyond instinct, selfishness, and passivity toward a life shaped by truth, justice, self-control, and consideration for others. Through a broad exploration of human nature, this book presents humans as extremely complex and incomplete beings. Humans are rational, biological, creative, social, moral, future-oriented, autonomous, aesthetic, spiritual, and political beings. However, humans are also self-centered, fragmented, susceptible to domination, and never free from contradictions. Humans can possess both beauty and cruelty, honesty and deception, sacrifice and greed. These dualities are not peripheral characteristics of the human condition but lie at its very center. Humans are not finished beings but transitional ones, always in the process of becoming complete, and must bear responsibility for the kind of being they become. The book then shifts its theme to the essence of human life itself. Human life is not merely a life of survival. It is a life of achievement, reality, individuality, ideals, desire, faith, happiness, labor, progress, learning, competence, thought, memory, competition, responsibility, reflection, and pleasure. While survival may be fundamental, no one desires merely to survive. Humans pursue meaning, dignity, recognition, hope, and a form of happiness that transcends desire and comfort. Life gains value not merely when it continues, but when it ascends to the manner of a higher being. At the heart of this book lies the central idea of humanliness. Humanliness is not merely a collection of traits that distinguish the animal species from the human species. It is a moral and spiritual quality that makes human existence truly valuable. Humanliness is expressed through justice, conscience, honesty, loyalty, humility, devotion, optimism, and love for humanity. It is the transformation of freedom into responsibility, competence into service, and existence into value. Without humanliness, reason degenerates into calculation, freedom turns into selfish license, desire into greed, and power into harmful violence rather than care. Without humanliness, civilization itself begins to lose its value. A powerful theme running throughout this book is that no one can become a complete human being in isolation. The roots of humanliness lie in the family, and its completion is achieved within a social community. Human dignity deepens through relationships, memory, shared responsibility, and care for the weak. From this perspective, responsibility toward others does not undermine individuality, rather, it completes it. Therefore, this book discusses not only the inner life of the individual but also the moral future of society. In the final chapter, Human and Humanliness presents principles for a noble life. These include following the truth, taking responsibility for oneself and one's family, obeying reason, helping the weak, treating others as oneself, maintaining honesty, and defending the value of humanliness even if it entails personal sacrifice. In this book, nobility is not a matter of status, talent, or fame. It is a matter of character, faithfulness, and moral courage. Philosophically profound, morally rigorous, and ideally ambitious, Human and Humanliness is a book for readers who enjoy philosophy, ethics, human nature, social thought, and reflective nonfiction. It is for those who believe that knowledge without conscience is dangerous, prosperity without meaning is empty, and power without humanity is destructive. Above all, it is a book that invites you to think more deeply, live more truthfully, and become a more whole human being. Key differences distinguishing the book Human and Humanliness from major ideas from ancient to modern philosophy. 1. Differences from ancient philosophy. Comparison with Aristotle. Aristotle defined humans as rational animals. For him, the essence of humanity was reason. In contrast, this book does not view humans merely as rational beings. This book defines humans as beings in whom various attributes are integrated, including rational, biological, creative, social, moral, future-oriented, political, and aesthetic beings. In other words, while Aristotle defined the essence of humanity as reason, this book defines humans as multidimensional beings. 2. Differences from modern individualist philosophy. Comparison with Descartes. Descartes sought the essence of humanity in thought, stating, "I think, therefore I am." However, this book argues that the ability to think alone cannot explain what it means to be human. This book, on the contrary, argues that moral values such as conscience, justice, honesty, loyalty, humility, and devotion are the core of humanliness. Therefore, while Descartes' modern philosophy defined humans as thinking subjects, this book defines humans as beings who are morally perfecting. 3. Differences from Nietzsche's philosophy. Nietzsche viewed humans as beings to be overcome. He emphasized strength, will, and the Übermensch Superman. In contrast, this book finds human greatness in love, responsibility, community, and humanity itself. While Nietzsche emphasized the strong human, this book takes the excellent human as its ideal. 4. Differences from Marx's philosophy. Marx explained the essence of humanity as the totality of social relations. This book also emphasizes human sociality. However, there is a difference. While Marx viewed humans with economics and class relations as the core, this book considers humanliness and morality to be the core. In other words, it places greater importance on the development of human character and conscience than on social change. 5. Difference from existentialism. Sartre argued that humans are born without essence and create their own essence. However, this book posits that essential attributes such as reason, sociality, morality, and future orientation already exist within humans. That is, while existentialism asserted that existence precedes essence, this book argues that humanity is formed upon the foundation of human essence. 6. Difference from modern liberalism. Modern liberalism regards individual freedom as the most important value. However, this book prioritizes responsibility, duty, and community over freedom. In particular, it presents the principle of prioritizing the interests of the community of shared destiny. This exhibits a stronger communitarian character than modern liberalism. 7. Originality of this book. The most significant difference from existing philosophies is that it argues based on humanity as the center, rather than on the human being itself. Traditional philosophy has primarily asked, what is a human being? And, how does a human being exist? In contrast, This book takes as its central questions: what does it mean to live a humane life? Who is a great human being? And how is humanity perfected? The core philosophical formula. The philosophy of this book can be summarized in a single sentence as follows. Humans are incomplete beings endowed with reason and morality, and they are beings who develop themselves and their communities by practicing humanliness. Or, expressed more concisely, the essence of humanity is a process of infinite perfection toward humanliness. This proposition can be seen as the most fundamental philosophical characteristic of human and humanliness, distinguishing it from ancient rational philosophy, modern individualism, and contemporary liberalism. Therefore, this book, Human and Humanliness, enables us to possess a scientific yardstick that evaluates the present state of the human world through human reason and the truth of history, and instills confidence in a just future. Table of Contents. Foreword. Chapter 1. The Nature and His Essential Attributes of the Human Being. 1. Human beings are rational beings. 2. Human beings are biological beings. 3. Human beings are creative beings. 4. Human beings are social beings. 5. Human beings are moral beings. 6. Human beings are future-oriented beings. 7. Human beings are autonomous beings. 8. Human beings are dominant beings. 9. Human beings are aesthetic beings. 10. Human beings are spiritual beings. 11. Human beings are political beings. 12. Human beings are self-centered beings. 13. Human beings are ambivalent beings. 14. Human beings are genetic beings. 15. Human beings are transitional beings. Chapter 2. The Essence and Character of Human Life. 1. Human life is a life of survival. 2. Human life is a life of fulfillment. 3. Human life is a life of reality. 4. Human life is a life of individuality. 5. Human life is a life of ideals. 6. Human life is a life of desire. 7. Human life is a life of faith. 8. Human life is a life of happiness. 9. Human life is a life of labor. 10. Human life is a life of development. 11. Human life is a life of learning. 12. Human life is a life of capability. 13. Human life is a life of thought. 14. Human life is a life of memory. 15. Human life is a life of competition. 16. Human life is a life of responsibility. 17. Human life is a life of reflection. 18. Human life is a life of enjoyment. Chapter 3. The Definition and Key Characteristics of Humanliness. 1. One must understand what it means of humanliness in order to become human. 2. Humanliness is the absolute value of humanity. 3. Humanliness is the highest ideal of humanity. 4. A communal outlook on life is the lifeline of humanliness. 5. Love for humanity is the very nature of humanliness. 6. Justice is the principle of humanliness. 7. Conscience is the value of humanliness. 8. Honesty is the honor of humanliness. 9. Loyalty is the qualification of humanliness. 10. Humility is the fragrance of humanliness. 11. Dedication is the responsibility of humanliness. 12. Optimism is the dignity of humanliness. 13. Humanliness is perfected through practice. 14. The roots of humanliness lie in the family. 15. Humanliness is perfected within the social community. 16. The essence of humanliness lies in motherliness. Chapter 4. Principles of a Noble Life. 1. Follow the truth. 2. Take responsibility for oneself. 3. Take responsibility for one's family. 4. Prioritize the interests of the community of destiny. 5. Submission to reason. 6. Help the vulnerable. 7. Treat others as you would oneself. 8. Sacrifice freedom for one's duty. 9. Do not beg for the value of life. 10. Uphold integrity as the highest value in life. 11. Defend the values humanliness with one's life. 12. A few maxims on the noble human being. This is the first part of the book, Human, Society and the Charter of Humanity for the Future.